Is now in session. Please stand for a moment of silence, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Clanton?
Present.
Mrs. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Mr. Page?
Present.
Mr. Smiegel?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Alexander?
Here, the motion is to excuse Councilwoman Johnson from tonight's meeting.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. The motion is to dispense with the reading of the minutes of our previous meeting. Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
We'll just take a vote on this one and read the resolution
Yes, sir.
next. Thank you. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye, Mr. Clerk, please continue with the resolution.
Thank you, sir. A resolution certifying a closed meeting of the Council of the City of Norfolk in accordance with provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Good evening and welcome to the Norfolk City Council meeting. Tonight, we will begin with public comments on the consent agenda and regular agenda items, followed by public hearings. Then the consent agenda, which will be voted on in a block. Following the consent agenda, we'll take up regular agenda items. To address the council, you should have registered to speak with the clerk prior to 3 p.m. When your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name, your home address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Clerk, will you please read the rules governing tonight's meeting?
Certainly, sir. City Council rules permit each speaker 3 minutes in total to speak on any and all consent and agenda docket items at each monthly meeting. If in advance of tonight's meeting you register with the clerk to comment on a public hearing matter, you will have an additional 3 minutes to do so. As you approach the council, you'll notice a timer on the lectern. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, the green light will activate. 2.5 minutes into your remarks, you'll notice a yellow light indicating that you have 30 seconds to finish your comments. At the end of 3 minutes, you'll see a red light and hear a beep. We ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on docket matters, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a profane, disruptive, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks should be directed to the City Council as a body rather than to any particular member of City Council, staff, or even the audience. Comments on an agenda item should remain germane to that item. A speaker who fails to comply with the basic rules of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. And as a reminder, no sign, placard, poster, or like material which may be carried by hand shall be permitted in the council chamber or adjoining areas.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay. Bill Small on R1, followed by Lisa Grossi. Yes, you're following Mr. Small.
Good evening,
Good evening.
ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Small. I've been a Norfolk native for 77 years. Currently live at 1526 Sheila Avenue, which is the last block west in Willoughby. I'm here tonight to ask you to please close the 15th View ramp for the proposed extended hours. I walk the Ocean View Avenue every morning at 7 o'clock. The traffic has become very dangerous with high speeds and cars moving back and forth like NASCAR. It's kind of frightening. We ask that you please preserve our Willoughby neighborhood and ask for the extension of the closing hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Grossi will be followed by Kelly Pearson.
Lisa Grassi at 1526 Sheila Avenue, last block of West Willoughby off 15th View. I am here to ask you to please close the 15th View ramp to the proposed extended hours and more. I am concerned about access for emergency vehicles. We had traffic past 13th View and someone on Leaveview called for an ambulance, which could not get to Leaveview Ave. Then, after the emergency vehicle loaded the person in the vehicle, the emergency vehicle could not get onto West Ocean View Ave out of 15th View. Every 40 or so seconds costs a life when the emergency vehicle is delayed. This does not have to happen. Houses don't have to burn because fire can't get taken care of. And people do not have to die. There is another way. Close 15th View on-ramp, except for HRBT, VDOT, emergency vehicles, towing, evacuation. Let's do the right thing and save life and property. Can everyone stand that is here from Willoughby? Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Good evening, everyone. I think I'm a little too close. Thank you for hearing me out and hearing us out. I am a resident of Willoughby Spit. I'm our first-time homeowner. Finally did it. Retired Air Force, disabled veteran. I walk my dog every day, and the speeds down Ovie Avenue are horrible. I, along with others, have purchased a radar gun, $140 out of our pocket. I know it's not a police radar gun, but just to get an idea of the speeds. And they're 60, 50s, mostly 40s. Our speed limit down there is 30 miles an hour. On 14 July of this year, I got rear-ended. Okay, I didn't get hurt. I got my neck smacked around a little bit. And thank God my bike rack was on the back of my truck, which saved my truck from being totaled. I got my truck back $4,000 later. Please consider this. I urge you to go down there in the morning and watch this in action, because it's just unsafe. There's school buses going down there with picking kids up from school. If it were your child standing on a corner and somebody swerves to miss someone else because they slam on their brakes, like this guy did, which left a 41.5-foot skid mark before he hit me. Pretty long, I don't know. I'm not a police officer, I don't know how to calculate all that. That's pretty significant. We did not call the police because we could exchange information as adults, and we moved on. Please consider going down there in the morning and see this for yourselves, because it's extremely dangerous. And I urge you to please consider closing the ramp at longer than we have it closed now, especially in the morning. It's terrible. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Mina Edney, followed by Barrett Hicks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nina Etney. I heard everybody saying that. This is my first time, so I guess I need to say my address, 1234 Bunsen Court. I live right across the street from Norview High School, and I am a lifelong resident of Norfolk. I want to connect the principles of fairness and non-discrimination in R2 to the school closures that will deeply impact the community. In Norfolk, 59.2% of our population is made up of minority races, and 39.3% are Black. Yet 5 of the schools slated for closures are located in predominantly Black neighborhoods. This disproportionate impact not only challenges the equity and fairness that R2 aims to protect, but also undermines the stability of the communities most in need. Though these closures do not just affect the children's education, they affect the very future of our city. I urge you not to pressure the school board for a hasty answer. Decisions like this must be made carefully with a transparent plan for the future, so our kids who are the future of Norfolk are protected. Closing these schools will also harm small minority-owned businesses. Many of these businesses rely on the community that schools help sustain. Removing the schools will drive families away, and without the neighborhood to support them, these businesses will suffer. This undermines the remedial measures and goals outlined in R2, which are designed to help small and minority-owned businesses thrive. As a lifelong Norfolk resident and a proud graduate of Norfolk Public Schools, as well as the parent of 4 graduates, I am deeply concerned that these closures will unfairly burden our most vulnerable families and weaken the community fabric that makes Norfolk unique. I urge you to ensure that the principles of equity, fairness, and transparency that guide R2 are also reflected in these critical decisions, and to halt the closures until there is a clear, equitable plan for the future, so no community is left behind. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to fairness in Norfolk. And I would ask also that the vote on the meeting that is to happen on October the 7th, that is taken into consideration on that day. Thank you.
Thank you. Barrett Hicks. Barrett Hicks, okay. Alton Robinson on R2, R5, R11.
Good evening, council,
King.
mayor, city manager. R5 has been explained to me by Mr. Kyle. He explained it to me, so I won't be speaking on that. I only got 3 minutes, correct, for all of
Sure,
it.
go ahead.
Right. Well, the Neighborhood Quarter Placemaking Grant Program recommended just $500,000, but it doesn't say who recommended it. Who recommended that it be $500,000? I have a recommendation. My recommendation is that you give $5 million to the program, $1 million a year for 5 years, out of the surplus that the city has, because I know the city does have a surplus, to start helping businesses and people who don't have a corridor. Because a lot of people that I know, they have businesses, but they don't have a corridor. So that's one of the things I want to stress that that be done. Haven't had an opportunity to talk to you, but I will. Okay. Now, the other one is R2. Speaking of the ordinance, and it says in R2 about illegal. Oh yeah, here it is, right here. To prohibit illegal discrimination. I'm not really understanding it because they say to prohibit illegal discrimination. You're going to vote on it today. And if you're going to vote on it today, that means yesterday you must have been doing something illegal. Because you're going to make it legal right now. So I'm trying to figure out all the years that it wasn't legal, if it wasn't legal. I'm just questioning because I don't really know. But if it was illegal, all these many years, what happens to the people who it was illegal to? Do you make sense? You understand what I'm saying? Where is the punishment for those who did it for all these years, if there's any punishment or retributions or anything that the people should receive? Because it says illegal discrimination. So all I'm saying is, are we going to do this now, and why didn't we do it then? So that's saying that the city has been doing something illegal. Is that so? Can somebody help me out? Because I don't want to misinterpret it. I don't want to misunderstand this.
Yes, I can take it. this is a restatement. And sometimes we don't have to have in the city code all of the laws that are in state laws or the U.S. Constitution. But we're reiterating that we will not illegally discriminate.
So you have been illegally discriminating, you saying that?
I'm not saying.
If you're saying you would not do something, that means you have been doing
We
it.
have been saying that all along, and we're keeping it up to date. What I'm saying is that our city, are you going to hear me, or
I'm
before you
listening.
disagree?
No,
or-
no, 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 I turn my
By the
ears so I
way,
can hear you.
I
No,
like the
don't-
greatness in the beard,
don't-
but let me
yeah.
say what I was going to say
I
before
got
you started to shake your
I
head.
got you, I'm listening.
That our code is not static, that we move it up to date, and when we see something that is changing or should be tweaked, we do that. That is this, the title is the same as it has always been. We have always followed the U.S. and Virginia constitutions and do not endorse, promote, or support illegal discrimination. And so you're correct that we're bound by that without stating it, but we frequently have things in our code that are repetitive of the state or the federal law, and that's all this is. And so that we have not been illegally discriminating. We've always had this provision to be against it, and we're continuing to be against it. And we've just done some housekeeping here to make sure that it's staying up with the current laws. The law is evolving. Every day you're getting a new decision, and so that we keep our codes up. That's all that this is. It's not an admission of liability. We have not been illegally discriminating. If that was your question, the answer is we have not.
So keep it equitable, because with women minority, and I know my time ran out, but a woman minority, right? So a woman is a minority. So then who is the minorities? If the women can have two.
Actually, I can discuss this with you later, but
Okay.
females are not a minority, but they are a protected class. And so race, religion, gender, nationality are the major protected classes. And so that the laws acknowledge that and provide them greater protections than the non-protected classes. So while women are not a minority, they are a protected class and afforded greater protections than non-protected classes.
Well, thank you
Sasha
very much.
Simmons?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sasha Simmons, followed by Ginger Vance.
Hi, good evening, council. I'm also going to be speaking on R2, but I also just wanted to clarify, according to my research, unlawful discrimination is when someone is treated differently and unfairly because of their membership in a legally protected group, which includes race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information. This type of treatment is illegal under the laws like Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So with that being said, Norfolk does have a history of discrimination. So I do approve this amendment because it's long overdue. But I also would like to ask if the city could also create an ordinance to stop the discrimination of the school systems in Norfolk. The school board state that the city required that 10 schools be closed. According to the map, most of the schools that are being considered are in majority black communities. Upon the redevelopment of the St. Paul's area, Tidewater Park Elementary School has already been torn down, which was majority black. Also, the YMCA, which was historical, was also torn down. So I'm asking the city, could they please create an ordinance to stop the discrimination of the school systems in Norfolk? They are very segregated, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And also, I'm asking if you could at least give the school board until February 1st of 2026 to make their decision so that it can be fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ginger Vance, followed by Cecilio Ricardo.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wanting to speak on PH1. I don't know if they put me in the right area or not.
No, they have you for R8, but you want to speak on PH1?
Yes, do
I'll
you
call
want me
you
to come back up later?
I will call you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Cecilio Ricardo, PH1.
Hello. Good evening, council members. My name is Cecilia Ricardo from 718 West Ocean View Avenue, and I'm a local short-term rental owner and a concerned resident. I'm here on R8 on opposition to the STR tax. While this tax is framed as applying to both STRs and hotels, this in our mind is a short-term rental tax. I called around to most of the hotels out here, and the majority of hotels in Norfolk are one-bedroom units. Meanwhile, most STRs are 2 bedrooms or more, meaning they're the only ones truly impacted by the change in the additional tax for per room, per night. Also, out of 30,000 residential properties in Ocean View and numerous tourism-related businesses, STRs are being targeted for this beach replenishment in addition to excessive regulatory hurdles. Why are we asking so much of such a small group? If this proposed change is estimated to bring $116,000, why not just reallocate these funds from the $2.5 million of tax revenue that come from STRs already? In addition, since 2022, there's been very strict rules on STRs, particularly the fire extinguisher or requirement. If you have more than 4 units, you're required to have a fire system. That fire system costs $300,000. Hotels normally get subsidies when they have to put those systems into their hotels, but STRs don't get that same consideration. So because of that, we lost a lot of good responsible STR managers, STR owners. That too could have contributed far more money to the $116,000 that would have went into replenishment of the beach. In fact, if we're taking $2.5 million, the addition of more STRs would have gained at least $1 or $2, $3 more million. I urge you to consider a smarter path, reform the current STR regulations, encourage legal compliance, broaden the tax base, and stop penalizing those who are playing by the rules. Thank you for your time in making decisions that are fair, data-driven, and supportive of all our tourism economy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great, that's all of our speakers on the regular and the consent. Grady Palmer is here to answer questions when the time comes, if there are questions. All right, Mr. Clerk, PH1.
Public hearing 1 scheduled this day pursuant to state law on the application of the City Planning Commission to amend Table 3.2.12 and Section 4.3.3.e of the Norfolk zoning ordinance so as to modify and simplify regulations relating to accessory dwelling units. And by a 6-0 vote, Planning Commission voted to recommend the application.
Ginger Dance.
Thank you, that feels more right. Hi, I'm Ginger. I own 717 Bayberry Lane, Norfolk, 23502. I say own instead of live in there because due to a motor vehicle accident, I can no longer make it up and down my stairs. And my kitchen's on the half floor. It's one of those split levels, and it's like, I'll have sleep for dinner. Because sometimes when I got home from work, I just couldn't get up there. So I've rented out my house to a long-term renter, and I myself have moved into an apartment. And unfortunately, due to the time that I had to move and the requirement of being on the first floor, I'm now in Virginia Beach. That means that when I buy groceries, it's in Virginia Beach. When I buy gas, it's in Virginia Beach. I'm a Norfolk resident. I came here in 2015. I actually came first and stayed in an ADU when I was a college student in pharmacy and fell in love with the area. And so when I got out of pharmacy school, I looked for a job in this area because I fell in love with Tidewater. The ADU restrictions are onerous for me. It gives only up to 400 square feet for my house. And that's too small of a space for me to fit, my whole life in as a long-term person. I need a space that's a little bit larger to be more comfortable so I can age in place. Somewhere flat, somewhere with no stairs. I'm urging you to look at the ADUs, not just as short-term rentals or anything like that. They're important for the city. They would bring my tax dollars back to this city, along with other people. It would allow me to stay in the community that I fell in love with and that I want to support. Not only that, like I said, I came here first as a student. Having ADUs accessible that are a comfortable size and able to be lived in for a long term would allow traveling nurses to come to our city, traveling hospitalists and doctors to come to our city, live comfortably in some place where they would feel safe to stay. Instead of just renting a room from a stranger, they would have a door, they'd have their own kitchen, a place where they can be comfortable, and these professionals can help us out with acute conditions that we need in our health care. Also, chronic conditions for our health care. Like I said, I came here, I fell in love with the area, and then when I could, I came back. And that wouldn't have been possible if an ADU hadn't been available. So please, for Aging in Place, help me out, help out the city, bring our tax dollars back to where they belong. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Starks. Each one.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Adrienne Creasy Starks, and I own a home in the Broad Creek area at 981 Godfrey Avenue. I stand here to oppose PH1 as it's written. I understand the Commission's desire to streamline processes where high volume of conditional use permits are submitted. However, respectfully recommend the Council not approve the Commission's proposal because it will adversely impact some communities. The conservative zoning ordinance language adopted in 2018 has merit. Yes, the CUP requirements may be burdensome for some homeowners, but the existing requirements place left and right guardrails on those who may not otherwise take into consideration the safety, fears, and conveniences of neighbors, especially if those seeking the CUP do not physically reside in the neighborhood. Case in point. If the language is approved today, a CUP request for an accessory dwelling unit at 2924 Myrtle Avenue, which is directly behind my home, could become null and void and building could proceed. This is a request which is not moved forward because the homeowner has yet to fully comply with the Commission's requests. The existing two-story home appears to have been used for short-term rentals by the owner without the city's approval for some time. The owner's rental of bedrooms in this neighborhood has contributed to heightened transient traffic and is undermining the community's safety and the ability to execute an effective neighborhood watch. By the owner's own admission on a January 24, 2022 YouTube video, he has purposely been a rent hacker by purchasing and converting single 3-bedroom family homes into 4- and 5-bedroom houses and then renting out the individual rooms. He acknowledged that his rentals are typically 3 to 6 months, and some tenants leave behind items when they vacate. His stated goal is to transition to Section 8 housing and more short-term rentals to bolster his real estate investment venture. All of this is problematic based on the community's experience with his management of this property thus far. The yard has been poorly maintained, graffiti has defaced the back of the house, transients amongst a settled neighborhood of seniors has led to safety concerns, and inoperable vehicles in the driveway and on the street have created an eyesore. If PH1 were to be approved, we, the neighbors, have no reason to think the property management would improve. Rather, with more tenants, we believe the situation would only worsen. We have no idea if the clientele would include others who think it is okay to paint graffiti on well-established homes. Such defacing of property could ultimately lower our property values and, God forbid, our own homes become a target of vandals. Parking congestion on Parish Road, which is already too narrow for two-way traffic, would become a greater safety hazard. The property owner failed to address the Broad Creek Civic League meeting on September 8th. His absence implies to us, as residents of the neighborhood, a lack of transparency and lack of his commitment to being a responsible neighbor.
Thank you, Ms. Starks. Thank you.
The rest of the material I will provide over to the,
Thank you so much. Lim Roel?
Hello, my name is Liam Rawl, and I reside at 801 Botetourt Gardens. I'm going to try and keep this relatively short. I feel that this ordinance is an important step forward to increase the depth and breadth of the housing supply in Norfolk. By depth, I mean it will increase the overall number of units available, which will help bring down costs. This is important with a city in some of with a city with some of the highest rates of rent burden in both the country and the Commonwealth. By breadth, I mean it increases the type of unit that kind of exists. This is something that I looked for, similar to the previous speaker, when I first moved to Norfolk, and I actually couldn't find it. I ended up renting a room, which turned out great, except for the fact that it turned me into a vandal, apparently. But I do wish I could have found something closer to what I was looking for in a basement apartment or something similar. Thank you.
Harriet Hicks? All right, Mr. Clerk, page 1.
You have an ordinance to amend Table 3.2.12 and Section 4.3.3.e of the Norfolk zoning ordinance so as to modify and simplify regulations relating to accessory dwelling units. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
I have a couple of comments, basically based at council. I know in some of our communications, been sharing with you that sometimes there's a difference of needs in some of the communities versus what we do abroad across the city. The young lady speaking on behalf of Broad Creek brought up some very interesting facts based on things that we deal with in our communities. But at the same token, we have a need where we have to have space for people to live. So we have to find a way to serve the entire city. I'm going to vote yes, but I want to let you know that I take into consideration what you brought up and what we need to do. So my vote is aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye, page 2.
Public hearing to schedule this day pursuant to state law on the application of the City Planning Commission for an amendment to the Norfolk zoning ordinance to allow the use of outdoor recreation facility by conditional use permit only in the industrial light zoning district. And by a vote of 7-0, Planning Commission recommends approval of this application. I have an ordinance to amend Table 3.5.7 and Section 4.2.3.f4 of the Norfolk zoning ordinance so as to allow the use of outdoor recreation facility by conditional use permit only in the industrial light zoning district. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Mr. Clerk, page 3.
Public hearing 3 scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance reauthorizing the issuance and sale by the City of Norfolk, Virginia of general obligation notes on a revolving credit line basis. I have an ordinance reauthorizing the issuance and sale by the City of Norfolk, Virginia of general obligation notes on a revolving credit line basis. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye, Mr. Clerk, page 4.
Public hearing 4 scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on the ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Virginia Whitehurst of a certain parcel of property located at 801 Summit Avenue for the total sum of $1,500 in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. I have an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Virginia Whitehurst of a certain parcel of property located at 801 Summit Avenue for a total sum of $1,500 in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye, Mr. Clerk, PH 5.
Public hearing 5 scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Kiko Nevers of a certain parcel of property located at 2661 Chesapeake Boulevard for the total sum of $1,000 in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. I have an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Kiko Nevers of a certain parcel of property located at 2661 Chesapeake Boulevard for the total sum of $1,000 in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye, Mr. Clerk, PH 6.
Public hearing 6 scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Lizak Batista and Rosa Guzman of a certain parcel of property located at 1043 Avenue F for the total sum of $2,000 in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. I have an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Lizak Batista and Rosa Guzman of a certain parcel of property located at 1043 Avenue F for the total sum of $2,000 in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye, Mr. Clerk, PH 7.
Public hearing 7 scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Deloach General Contracting Company of a certain parcel of property located at 1314 Hanson Avenue in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement and authorizing the release of or amendment of the declaration of protective and restrictive covenants. And the motion is to continue generally, sir. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye, Mr. Clerk. Consent agenda will be considered in the block unless otherwise noted.
Okay, approve the consent agenda and dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinances twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye, Mr. Clerk, R1.
R1 is a resolution in support of the city's request to the Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, for extended closure hours of the 15th View Street on-ramp onto I-64 West.
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, I had suggested that I bring up during the informal session that a request has been made to change the closure starting at 5 a.m. instead of 6. And I was remiss in not bringing that up, so if the council would like to entertain that, I think it was brought to several council members by members of the community, and so that what was sent to you started at 6. The ordinance, the other ordinance the clerk has, closes it at 5 a.m.
Thank you. And Mr. Bull will be voting on the amendment.
Thank you. Adopt the resolution as amended. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
My amendment would have been to close it permanently, but aye.
thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R2.
R2 is an ordinance to amend, rename, and reordain Section 33.1-11 of the Norfolk City Code 1979 to prohibit illegal discrimination and to facilitate participation of certain businesses in procurement transactions in accordance with the language of the Virginia Code 2.2-4310. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R3.
R3 is an ordinance to amend and reordain sections 33.1-20 and 33.1-59 of the Norfolk City Code so as to clarify the prerequisite procedures before the city may enter into a contract for construction on a design build or construction management basis. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander? Number 4 is an ordinance of the Council of the City of Norfolk, Virginia, to adopt procedures for the selection, evaluation, and award of design bill contracts. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. 5.
R5 is an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a non-exclusive revocable right of entry agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, acting on behalf of the United States of America regarding various properties owned by the city of Norfolk in connection with a project for the extension of a flood wall. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R6.
R6 is an ordinance amending the FY 2026 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 49966 so as to accept and appropriate additional grant funds up to the sum of $2,014,641 from the Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, for the Westminster Avenue Reconstruction Revenue Sharing Project, UPC 117-116. The project, if and when received, providing an additional sum of $3,738,859 as a local match and local funds from previously appropriated funds, amending ordinance number 49115 to clarify the appropriations for local match and for local funds, amending the annual grants plan in the FY 2026 budget to add the additional grant information for the project and authorizing an amendment to the agreement with VDOT for this project. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R7.
R7 is a resolution approving a third amendment to the restatement of the current Norfolk Community Services Board performance contract and supplemental documents for fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R8.
R8 is an ordinance to amend and reordain Section 24-234 of the Norfolk City Code so as to adjust the levy of the city's tax on transients obtaining lodging and short-term rental units by applying the per night, per room flat tax based on the number of bedrooms in the unit. And this item needs to be continued generally, sir, so that's the motion.
Section.
And can you just tell me why we're continuing generally?
Yes, I'm sorry that, this is a tax increase for the B and Bs to make it the same as the hotels. And it has to be done through a public hearing, and we didn't advertise it for that specifically, so it's gonna be delayed a week or two, I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
It should be back on October 7th.
Gotcha,
the next
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
I just wanted to say real quick, this recommendation came from the short-term rental advisory group that was put together as a way to help generate some additional funds that could be reinvested back into this so that we could build faith from the community who was opposing short-term rentals. And so the money that's generated from this goes back into the Coastal Character District. On that, there was an article that ran that didn't really put out there that this is basically a user fee, so that it's not the short-term rental property owners that are paying it. It's going to be a fee that's part of that, just as if you go to any hotel and you pay a tax or a fee. And unfortunately, I don't look at that when I'm making room reservations. I base it off of the location and that. So we can have continued conversation, but this came out of the advisory committee. Aye.
thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R9.
R9 is an ordinance granting conditional use permits to authorize the operation of a convenience store with gasoline sales, the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premises consumption, and the sale of smoking products named 7-Eleven on property located at 7912 Halpin Drive. And by a 7-0 vote, Planning Commission recommended this application be approved. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
I just want to thank 7-Eleven for working with the community on this and becoming a partner. Normally, when we have corporate retailers coming in, we usually don't get those partnerships, but they really did work with the community to make this right, so I appreciate that and continue working, looking forward to working with them. Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas.
I too appreciate 7-Eleven coming in and working with Tommy on this one location, but my concern, and the concern that I've made to 7-Eleven representatives, is that there's about 30 7-Eleven stores in the city of Norfolk, and a good number of them are the source of a large number of the complaints that we receive with regard to the safety of people going to those stores, with regard to the cleanliness of those stores, with regard to trash outside of those stores. And to me, and in my experience with the 7-Elevens in and around my ward, they have not done a good job running those stores in our city. And so I don't have the confidence that they're going to run this one any better. So I'm going to vote no.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R10.
R10 is an ordinance to amend and reordain Section 12-89.4.2 of the Norfolk City Code 1979 so as to permit flat and upright markers. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R11.
R11 is an ordinance authorizing a cooperation agreement by and between the City of Norfolk and Economic Development Authority of the City of Norfolk for administration of the Neighborhood Corridor and Placemaking Grant Program, authorizing the expenditure of a sum of up to $500,000 for the city's obligations under the cooperation agreement, and authorizing the city manager to execute the cooperation agreement on behalf of the City of Norfolk. And once again, there's a motion to continue this generally, sir.
Without objection, call the roll.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas? Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R12.
R12 is a resolution appointing 10 members to 2 commissions, 1 board, and 1 authority for certain terms. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Thank you. Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas? Dr. Alexander?
Mr. Clerk, do you have another?
That's all I have, sir.